Hi, I'm Tom Scioli, author of Godzilla's Monsterpiece Theater. Issue 3 is in stores now. So go to your local comic book store and pick it up.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And yet we were recently at a local toy show.
Amazing.
And, picked up some cool stuff. But the highlight was something we've talked about in previous episodes. Somebody was selling the Happy Meal boxes for the Star Trek The Motion Picture Happy Meal, which was the first Happy Meal I ever had. My first memory of ever being at a McDonald's, because my parents would never take us to McDonald's, but my grandparents were babysitting me as my sister was being born, and so we went and we got the Happy Meal. So I haven't seen this since 1979.
Tom, it was thrilling to see these in person. You've mentioned them on multiple episodes. It's truly a thrill to see these mint condition boxes.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful to sort of compare it to like what a Happy Meal looks like now. I mean, the handles are still relatively the same. They are a little different enough to be cool, but like look at the art on that. It's this like it's hand painted. It's not just some like quick digital graphic. It's like hand painted. You have this amazing painting of Ronald McDonald up there. You have a Klingon talking about the Klingons, and then all these little games on the side, and then like a maze where you try to like trace your phaser fire to like destroy the Klingon, and then a comic with like this one's Kirk, so this must be like the first one. So it's got like the opening scenes of the movie where the Klingons face off with V'ger and blow up.
And I've got Bones. And we noticed in Bones' comic, it's kind of like a grim scene in there.
It's pretty dark. That's the scene that I remember as a kid from the movie, like watching it at my grandmother's house on cable, like when it came to TV. And that was the scene that stuck with me. It was real disturbing, of like the transporter machine malfunction where they get kind of mangled, and it's there in the like. For a little
kid's eating their hamburger.
I love this, like this graphic of where you draw the alien. Like when I first saw this, I didn't know what to make of it, and it looks like an ass.
It does. Draw the right buttock.
And these artists, they're always up to shenanigans with this stuff. They're like real passive aggressive, and like the famous the tower in the background of the Little Mermaid VHS and stuff. So it looks like somebody mooning the camera.
That looks so. They're pulling their fucking pants down.
Yeah, but but yeah, this is the Bones McCoy. And like just some
Ronald,
real interesting. Yes, Ronald's butt.
It's the Hamburglers. I can tell it's the black and white stripes on there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's the Hamburglers ad. I'm like, the Hamburglar.
It's like some interesting deep cuts on here. Like again, thinking about this movie being translated into a Happy Meal. Because this movie is kind of. It's not really a kid's movie, like by any stretch.
Yeah, it'd be like it's like the Fly Happy Meal.
Right, yeah. But again, it's super nostalgic for me. I don't remember the box when I was a kid. I remember the toy. It was this like little communicator which had comics on it, which I don't know if they're the same like comics that are on the back of the box, but you'd crank it and then it would scroll through these, drawings of like the different characters.
Here's the book. We formed it up a little bit.
Here it is in 3D, yeah.
When we were also recently in a McDonald's holding these.
Well, yeah, because we were at the toy show, and then we had these, and then we went to the McDonald's across the street, and and it was kind of interesting.
At that moment, we were the only people on planet Earth with a 1979 Star Trek box in a McDonald's at that moment.
Yeah, and the guy who was selling them, he said like, yeah, there was somebody who just had like a box of an unopened crate of them, or like big box of these. They're still folded. They were never never used.
It's like a time machine.
Yeah, it was like the Proustian Madeleine. It's like Rosebud or something. When I saw, I was so excited when I saw it, and we just snapped them up.
I think I might put this in a frame.
Yeah.
But this might be. I think this is my favorite thing from the show.
That was my favorite thing from the show. I mean, I picked up the the exosuit from the Aliens
Yes.
toy line, which is really cool, and you can stick any kind of character in it. And I picked up like an original Warduke from Dungeons and Dragons, and so
looks great.
For the time being, like
He's
at the show, I put him in Ripley's exosuit, so that was kind of cool.
Love that. Found an Alf tablecloth. We'll have to when we bust this out.
Yes, for your birthday party,
Yeah.
have the Alf tablecloth,
Yeah.
or for Christmas Eve, the seven fishes.
Yeah, the Feast of the Seven Fishes. I've been collecting over a couple toy shows Stargate figures.
Collect them all. Do you have James Spader yet?
We don't have James Spader.
You do have. I was going to say Snake Plissken,
Snake.
but he kind of looks like him in that, but he's a different character. Yeah, the characters are pretty beefy.
Spader.
Yeah, James Spader's looking pretty, like, got these massive turkey size, like Thanksgiving turkey sized fists.
The funny thing is, this is true to scale for the real James Spader.
Yeah, he's got Hulk hands.
Hulk hands. It shows him on the cover of, like, was he in Pretty in Pink or whatever? He's got like giant. We got a little Jay Davidson.
Yeah, again, like it looks like they paid for the likeness of Kurt Russell, and maybe they paid for the likeness of James Spader, but they did not pay Jay Davidson. That does not look anything like Jay Davidson, but it is a cool figure. Like I'm a fan of sort of Golden Pharaoh sci-fi characters. Jack Kirby created one for the New Gods that never made it into the actual comic, but Golden Pharaoh, which was pretty cool.
You can find these cheap. So
okay, that's good. That you found, like, because I feel like there's a parallel universe that maybe they go to in Stargate where these things are sought after because they are really nice looking figures and in the box, really, and from the 90s. Like I'm surprised that collectors haven't keyed into this one. In previous years at this show, there would be Micronauts. I noticed this year there were no Micronauts. I don't know what's going on. Like Micronauts are being snapped up. I mean, the prices for Micronauts keep going up and up, and so I don't know if they're like talking about that Star Trek Happy Meal. I got this a few years back. The Star Trek the Motion Picture making of book. So if you want to borrow this and check it out, it's pretty cool. So maybe sort of add this to some of our Star Trek reporting that we're doing. It's pretty cool that all the drawings and stuff.
Wow.
Like I've sort of had this lifelong fascination with the with Star Trek the Motion Picture for various reasons. And again, I always liked the movie, but I was never blown away by it. But now it's reading the novelization, and and now having this Happy Meal box, it feels like all the pieces are coming together, and it's becoming maybe my favorite thing ever, that's just kind of been bouncing around there in the background.
In the episodes, you literally mentioned the Star Trek Happy Meal box, and now we
because
it's better than I could have imagined.
I was little, and it's this cherished memory because all I wanted was to go to McDonald's, and I remember seeing the commercial too, seeing the giant Klingon spaceship on the commercial. And to go to McDonald's, but my parents were they were very anti-McDonald's. It's we're not taking to McDonald's. Where my grandparents, they were all about McDonald's.
Oh, hell yeah.
And every holiday, they'd make sure we got some McDonald's gift certificates. So my parents would be forced to take us. Maybe a couple people had mentioned in the comments in our Star Trek the Motion Picture episode that there's an episode of the original series that the V'ger plot was kind of taken from, and I've been watching the whole series episode to episode, and I remember having seen this episode but never sitting and watching it start to finish. But there's this episode called The Changeling. The Enterprise meets this space probe that's kind of gotten sentience, and it's flying through the Enterprise, and I remember that probe kind of moving through the Enterprise. But I've never watched, this was my first time watching the episode from start to finish. And it has all the beats of Star Trek the Motion Picture. It's first they encounter this thing in space, they don't know what it is, and it starts shooting these green bolts at the Enterprise, and the Enterprise is just can't do anything about it. And then they beam it aboard, and it's this like space probe, and it like talks in a robot voice and goes through the ship, and then it just sort of casually kills Scotty, and then Scotty's like dead, and then and then it thinks that Captain Kirk is its creator because he has like a similar name to the guy who built this. It's called the Nomad space probe. It's like the whole. It's the whole storyline beat for beat, just sort of on a smaller scale, like in the Enterprise set, the Changeling. It's great, really good episode. It doesn't have the same ending, like it doesn't end with one of the crew, mating with the probe, but it does have sort of a somewhat similar, kind of like making the computer short circuit by presenting it with some contradictory information that kind of like blows its circuits. Typical 60s TV show, like if you have to defeat a computer, that's usually how you do it. You make it go nuts from having to understand like a paradox. But there's a really interesting thing in the sort of epilogue scene of the episode. Because the probe thought of Captain Kirk as its father and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about it, and they're kind of joking around, and they're talking about how that the Nomad probe would have made an amazing doctor, the way it sort of put Scotty back together. It killed Scotty and then put him back together, good as new. And McCoy's like, yeah, he'd make a great doctor. And then Captain Kirk's like thinking about it. He's like, yeah, my son, the doctor. And funny joke there, but you realize in Star Trek 2, my son, the doctor. Like Captain Kirk does have a son who's Dr. Marcus. So I wonder if, again, Star Trek super fans have been with us forever. Like since before either of us were born, there have been Star Trek super fans. So it can't be a coincidence that when they're writing the script for The Wrath of Khan, that it's like, oh, let's pay off on that my son, the doctor thing. And Captain Kirk's son really is a doctor, how cool would that be? They were really flailing, trying to figure out what this Star Trek movie is going to be and what it could be. And there was a lot of missteps and expensive sets that were built where they have to scrap the entire sequence because it doesn't look right.
And the budget fluctuation from this to Star Trek 2 is huge.
Yeah. Fortunately, they still had some stuff left. They could use the same Enterprise model. They could use the same.
They got it out of storage.
Yeah. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Godzilla's Monsterpiece Theater. Issue 3 is in stores now. Go to your local comic book store and pick up your copy.
I'm Matt Zeoli.